Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas, and my guest today is Colonel Bob Bowman of the Patriots.us. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I've just been reading some of your stuff here, and you have been warning the military about these false flag wars, and we're headed into another one with Iran right now, even though we haven't wound down, and we still got, my God, we still got troops in Korea, don't we? I started studying the oath that I had taken. I became aware that almost every plank on the Communist Manifesto was intact in America way back then. What's happened?
Well, every communist, what? Flag?
Every plank on the Communist Manifesto, central bank, heavily progressive graduated income tax, government control of agriculture, corporate farms. Can we say Monsanto? And Bob, it's worse than most people ever dream, because they're not only are they have they taken us into wars in which billions of people have been killed this century. They are poisoning Americans internally. I mean, we've got traitors inside this country. You know, some of them in the Federal Reserve Bank, some of them in Congress, and they're allowing these corporations. You know, and our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, warned us, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the bank and the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your family homeless in the land that we conquer. We've got 1 million families in the streets today, millions homeless today, and we've got an election coming up. We feel like most of the Americans feel like Obama has kind of sold us out, but we've got a Mossad-controlled candidate on the Republican side. What do we do? Where is our recourse? What's happening to us? And Colonel
served for 22 years as an officer, regular officer, career. Flew 101 combat missions in Vietnam. Did a lot of other stuff, and was stationed in, probably about 45 different countries around the world. Korea twice, and so forth. I wasn't stupid, though, and I started seeing things, and like you, things that went against my oath of office, went against the Constitution that I swore allegiance to, and more and more I started questioning what was going on. This, of course, wasn't very good for a career, and I wound up getting out after 22 years and going into industry to make some real money for a change. And I wasn't in industry very long before I discovered that I had less freedom of speech in industry than I'd had in the military, and that I was asked to do all sorts of things in industry that violated my conscience and my oath of office and the Constitution, even more so than when I was in the military. And so I wound up out and unemployed in 1981, and everybody that wanted to hire me wanted me to violate all the things I believed in. General Electric wanted me to come into their headquarters and help them build laser weapons in space and all that sort of stuff. So my last resort was to start a non-profit think tank, and I did. I didn't realize how non-profit it was going to be, but be that as it may, we haven't had any paid employees in years and years and years. I haven't had a paycheck since, I guess, 1985. And the thing that brought it to a head and got me out of the establishment was Reagan's Star Wars scheme. I had directed all of the Star Wars programs under Presidents Ford and Carter, and when Reagan was coming into office, some of these right-wing think tanks were already putting together plans to push it on Reagan and have him push it on the American people. And you know, the old man was good-hearted. I think he was completely clueless about their ultimate plans, but they knew, even if he didn't, that it was never a peace shield, and that it was the development of offensive weapons for the purpose of dominating the world militarily, for the benefit of the big corporations.
Again, you know, our founding fathers warned us about it. The banks are financed by the corporations. The corporations create the poison and the bombs. You know, so we can go to war with a country like Iraq. And who had the Iraqi people had never done anything to us other than than fight Iran with our backing, with our money, with our military. We gave them the weapons of mass destruction that they had to use against the Iranians. So that was actually our first attack on Iran after we lost the Shah, right?
Yeah.
We lost control of that, and you sent something with this, and I've got it linked up on my website. We've also got links to your website, Colonel. And it shows Iran. I mean, we're talking about a country that architecturally is more beautiful than the United States, certainly more beautiful than New York City. And if we're going to war on somebody, you know, they want to protect. They want to show it like that we're going to. They're trying to demonize the Muslims, and that seems like they're following the exact line that that Albert Pike laid out. We were back around the Civil War for the Masons. We're going after the Iranians, but that's like us. It's like going after the Russians or going after the Germans. We're fighting a war with other white folks. You know, whether they're Christian or Muslim doesn't seem to make a lot of difference to me. If we both got, if there's one God and then we all got the same God, don't we?
Yeah. Well, we have to also realize that you know, attacking another country and killing hundreds of thousands of people like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not only against our national interests, not only is it a war crime, an act of terror, but it's against all the moral principles that we hold, whatever our religion is. Think about it. Iran is larger than Great Britain, Germany, France, and Spain combined. Iran, also known as Persia, goes back 4,800 years, and its civilization is even older than that.
By the way, they found pyramids in Bosnia, I believe, that are 25,000 years old. So.
Well, anyway, what we're taking on if we go to war with Iran is a horrendous thing. It is essentially another world war. This isn't some pipsqueak country with people living in tents. This is a major undertaking and totally unnecessary because Iran hasn't attacked us. So
what is it about Iran? And we've got other countries that we control. We control Saudi Arabia, or Israel controls Saudi Arabia. The Saudi princes are Jewish. Is that accurate?
I don't know about that, but yeah, we for now we control the Saudi royal family. It may not always be that way, and that would be a horrendous thing if we had to get in there helping the Saudis, the Saudi royal family, fight against their own people. But in Iran, we don't have that problem because the majority of the people support their government. The reason we're going after Iran is number one, because the Israelis want us to, and number two, because the oil companies want us to, and number three, because the guys that put us into war with Iraq and Afghanistan, the same ones want to get into Iran and Syria and so forth, and they are major advisors to Romney. And yeah, a lot of us are disappointed with a lot of what Obama has done or hasn't done, but believe me, if we let that bunch of vipers who advised George W. Bush get back in with Romney, and he's clueless on foreign policy just as Bush was, and we let them run our foreign and military policy, there'll be hell to pay.
The NeoCons are the ones that have come up with the project for the New American Century, where they said they needed a new Pearl Harbor. That's what 9/11 was. I referred to it as an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning, and 16 intelligence agencies have warned the American people and the Congress that Israel is more of a danger to United States security than any other country out there. Would you concur with that, Colonel?
Well, as long as we have people sympathetic to the right wing, the NeoCon faction in Israel, then sure. I've been to Israel several times, and support the country, but the Netanyahu and his right-wing government is guilty of all sorts of things, including genocide, and if we're not careful, it'll wind up much worse.
This build up here. I mean, we have Iran surrounded. They our press here is controlled by Jewish factions, pro-Israel Jewish factions. And you know, this is not being anti-Semitic, Bob. This is I'm talking about what our founding fathers warned us about international politics going back thousands of years. Syrian empire is, you know, I'm not even sure from our history books, because of the way the history books go. I'm not sure that they've actually told us the truth about the Persian Empire. Maybe that was a good thing, was it? You know, how do we determine when the Israeli faction, the Jewish faction, is demonizing everything, doing everything they can, including 9/11, to which was all of the participants were dual citizens. I mean, how can you be a dual citizen and be and operate the be the CEO of the Pentagon at a time when we lost $2.3 trillion that we couldn't account for? That would be Rabbi Dov Zakheim, who, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is working for Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney and Clear Channel are a whole thing. It's Romney is the person that is running Bain Capital. We've got articles and videos linked up on this site about that. Mitt Romney is employed Rabbi Dov Zakheim for his campaign. You know, this now I've studied history, as you have, Colonel. What happened to the 60 million white Christians that were murdered, tortured, enslaved in what became the Soviet Union? Is that happening? Isn't that the same scenario that we see happening here, right in our press? Now, people, Jewish people that spoke, that were very, very high level, that spoke to the American people, have warned us that the Zionists were behind both World Wars, World War I and World War II. We had the Russians, the Germans, and the Americans and the English fighting each other, and somebody sat back and made a lot of money off of their weapons here. What this is, I've been warning people for 20 years about the plan, which is well documented, for one world government. And it looks like that world government is a communist creation, and we've got a president and a presidential candidate that are both working for the people that do want one world government, as they wrote about in the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I disagree completely that the one world government thing is a communist plot. It's a fascist plot. And sometimes, you know, you look and you see what's the difference. But the one world government is planned to be a government by the big corporate interests and for the corporate interests.
Yes, sir.
And not for the people of the world. If we had a one world government that was designed to make life good for the people of the earth, you know, that would be one thing. I don't know whether I'd be for it or not. I'm for maintaining the freedoms that we have in this country, at least those that are left. And but people have to understand that the NeoCons and the NeoCon guys in the Israeli government and elsewhere are pushing plans that will turn the people of the world into serfs, and the people that will prosper will be the 1% that are prospering now in this country, and similar folks around the world.
You know, as James Forrestal said before they threw him out of the 13th floor of the Bethesda Naval Hospital, you know, consistency is not the mark of stupidity. If they were just stupid, occasionally they'd make a mistake in our favor. You know, I do have a little bit of a problem, Colonel, seeing the difference between fascism and communism. I have the same problem seeing the difference between the Republican and the Democratic parties. That's what. Yeah. You know, it's like two wings of the same bird, and the Rothschild formula is to fund both sides and create an enemy of equal strength. So we've got enemies, so we've got somebody to fight or somebody to frighten us. Divide and conquer are the oldest maxim in warfare. And isn't that exactly what they're doing? Well, I'm a conservative. Oh, you're a liberal? Oh, I'm a Democrat. You're a Republican? Aren't we all Americans? Shouldn't we be thinking of that? I mean, but the propaganda that the mainstream media is feeding us. I mean, we have, in this election, between Obama, Zionist A, World Government A, and Mitt Romney, you know, talk about fascists, talk about, you know, working with the Bush crime cartel. We don't have much of a choice. I mean, maybe if everybody just said to heck with this and voted libertarian, we could get Governor Gary Johnson in there, get the drug war stopped, get the other war stopped, bring some of our troops back that are guarding the opium poppy fields in Afghanistan, and save this country. You know, why is the ADL and Southern Poverty Law and Homeland Security now trying to demonize veterans? That's the plan of the communist plot. They go after three classes of people in order. They go after the farmers first because they don't want you being able to feed yourself. They go after the intelligentsia next, anyone that's smart enough to know what they're doing, and third, they go after the veterans or the law enforcement that might still be loyal to the old regime. In other words, those of us that honor our oath, and they went after you even before they went after me.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, you blocked out there. You were saying they went after me even before, and I didn't get the rest of it.
Even before they went after me, they after I started the militias and the radio show that you were on back in '94. I've been under constant attack since then. Financial, they don't want me to get any support. They tried to. You know, I've had one company sold for $1 million, and I still retained half of it. That was on Thursday. They put a press release out on Friday, and by Monday the CEO is white and shaking. He's been threatened. Every stockholder in the company had been threatened and warned if they do business with Clay Douglas, they're going to be attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened to you before, back in '84.
Yeah.
Did you become aware? Now, in my book, Mystery Babylon, Colonel, I've got information from Colonel Edward P. Catolo, commander of the Special Forces in Air, Massachusetts, and he told a story about Operation Watchtower, using Special Forces to build the radio guide towers down in Colombia. And those towers, radio towers, were used to guide over 100 planes into Albrook Air Force Base in Panama, where they were met by Del Cid, Michael Harari, and I believe Howard Hunt. They were all involved in the ship of the planes. The cargo of the planes was cocaine, and from Albrook Air Force Base, they were flown into a little place called Mena, Arkansas. This would have happened under George Bush's watch as CIA director, and the drugs came in under George Bush as president, and DEA agents have said George Bush, and Colonel Edward P. Catolo says George Bush was covering for the Mossad and the CIA and operating the CIA and bringing all the drugs into this country. And this was all happening at the same time that Iran-Contra was hitting the newspapers.
Yeah.
What's your knowledge of that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've talked to people who were involved in that drug running, and, you know, one of them, we were at the Capitol at that time, doing the halls of Congress, and one of them said to me, you know, when this plane's back and forth bringing cocaine into this country, and that it's a shame we have to do that. We have to do that to fund the wars because Congress won't vote money for the wars. And I mean, this was, you know, all in North time and all of that, but he was saying, gee, it's, you know, it's a bad thing that Congress doesn't just vote us some money, is that we have to raise the money by running the cocaine.
Well, that's a scam too. I have said, if you can be approached by a man with a badge and they say to you, that smells like marijuana, is that marijuana in your pocket? You live in a police state, because there's no laws in the Constitution against smoking a plant any more than there's a law against smoking tobacco, unless you, I guess, if you live in, you know, L.A. or live in a restaurant, you. But
yeah.
But it's suddenly we have more Americans in prison, on parole, on probation, than any other country out there, including all of the communist countries, including Red China with 4 times our population. Now, if you're running the drugs into this country, you're